Hello and welcome to the Joyful Rebels podcast. We've got Claire and Donna Thomas here, your mother daughter duo. And this week we're going to do something a little different that we're pretty excited about. We are going to have a Joyful Rebels recap. So if you're listening to this when it comes out, happy 2024. We are into the new year. And last year at this time, we had a focus on New Year's resolutions and kind of a newer way of thinking about it. So definitely check that out if you're interested in, okay, I want to make some New Year's resolutions. But we decided what we wanted to do is really to take a look in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
We want to reflect back on some of the highlights and some of the lessons that we have learned over the past year through the Joyful Rebels podcast. So we are actually really excited. We haven't really done an episode like this in a while, right? So this is going to be fun. We're going to talk about some of our favorite episodes and some of the things we've learned. So what I'm going to say to you listening is this is another opportunity for you. We're reflecting now. I'm inviting you to reflect as well.
Mhm.
Whether it's something Joyful Rebels related or not, how did the past year go? Because any time is a good time to do it, but when it's front and center in our face, new year, let's go. So I'm going to start with a question for you, Mom. We're just going to get right into it. And
Okay.
it's kind of a big one. So, we'll see. We'll see where we go with this. But what did you learn about yourself this past year?
How much time you got? Uh, I learned that what is meant for me won't miss me
Mm,
in that. And where I thought I was going to put my attention, I found I was in situations and in conversations where a different theme emerged. And so I went with that. And
okay.
I feel like sometimes if I set a plan in motion, sometimes I've been stubborn enough in my life where I just keep going just because
Mm,
it's but I'm listening and I'm more adaptable to what's happening in real time. And that is a direct relationship with trying to stay aware
mm.
and trying to just walk through life and be curious that I'm hearing the cues, I'm sensing them picking up and being able to integrate them in real time instead of letting huge blocks of time go by and go, wait a minute, there was something else I probably could have paid attention to. So it feels in alignment. It feels like life is easier. That's what I'm learning. Weirdly.
That's awesome, though. I love hearing that life feels easier. And I think you said so many words that I feel like have rippled through a lot of our episodes and themes, like awareness. And I
Mm,
think once you turn that awareness light on, it really does, it illuminates things that you may have been intentionally ignoring
yeah.
or just haven't noticed because your attention wasn't on it. And so I think that once that awareness light is on, there's so many places you can go with it. I also love how you said that you had maybe a theme or a strategy or like a key word because in our episode way back when in January of
Mhm.
2023, we talked about a word that can be a goal or a theme for the year ahead. And that's cool. But I love how you said that what you thought would be your theme and what you were going to focus on didn't necessarily line up with that. And it ended up shifting a little bit.
Yeah.
So what would you say your word ended up being then?
Yeah. It was overwhelmingly consistent that strong
Mm,
was just rising, whether it's the written word that I could see in my mind, whether it was situations where I needed to um, confirm a boundary or have a hard conversation or lifting weights or the strength of character to stay with my integrity when I was in a situation where it could have gone sketch. All of those, there's a lot of different ways to interpret what strength is, but it kept coming up over and over and over again as a place where I feel not that I had to do it, but that uh, by leaning into strength in many different spheres of my life, that I'm going to need it. Like I feel like I'm in training. I was in training for it, and so I did. And so I interpreted situations as where's the strength component there,
mm.
and so I could see it then. So I don't, and it continues to this day that it may even carry over into this year too, because I feel like I'm in the middle of my story.
Yeah, I like that. I like because it's not cut and dry. Oh, 2023 ended in 2024 needs to be
Yeah.
vastly different, right? And I think that's an interesting point that if things were working for you, then that's the green light to continue doing that, right? We don't always have to search for new and different things to work on. When I reflected back on, so back then in that episode in last January, I had picked two words to be my theme for 2023. And what I thought was really cool is that they did end up showing up
Mm,
consistently. And oh, I just spoiler alerted one of the words. But so the two words that I had chosen were confidence and consistency. Those were two things that I wanted to focus on that I felt were kind of lacking. And I mean, I'm talking across multiple spheres of my life. And the thing with the confidence that was cool was we did that group over the summer,
uh-huh.
that 8 weeks to build your confidence with the Joyful Rebels. And I don't know if there's some irony there, but it took a lot of confidence, I feel like, to run a confidence group with all these awesome women who decided to join, over 100 women. Um,
Yeah.
one lesson that I took from that I'm going to continue to lean into is that confidence follows the action. I've said it before, but I really truly believe it deep down. Do scary things. Do the thing that scares you. Just do the thing and the confidence follows. And that's how it is. If you're going to wait for the confidence to do something, it- are you ever going to do it?
Mm,
Question mark. So do the thing, the confidence will follow. And that showed up over and over again for me in the past year. And the second thing was the consistency.
mm,
So I was able to get some tracking down. I will say for me, like reading and writing consistently, it just feels so good to get some consistency down. And one of the things, as we were talking about before the episode, Mom, and reflecting on that, I think is so cool is that consistency sometimes it can sound like a boring word. Oh, we're saying to continue to do the thing every day. And, it just, our minds might jump to, well, that sounds boring. But what I found with consistency is that I was showing myself that I could be trusted. There was greater belief in myself. So I had more confidence. And when I had more confidence in myself, I had less of a tug from some of my limiting beliefs. There
mm,
was less of the perfectionist tendencies showing up. There was less of the all or nothing because even if I'm doing a little bit at a time, that was still consistent. So my brain space, less of it was taken up with of these limiting beliefs. So it opened up for other things
mm,
more than I could have imagined. So by opening up that space, like you don't even know what can flow in. So what I thought was really interesting then is consistency, which again might be considered this boring word, actually turned into this opportunity for all these exciting things. So if you need one more reason to go after that goal or that habit in little doable chunks and to just keep doing the thing, is you end up then opening up space for opportunities for new cool things and guess what? You don't have to guess or know what those new things are that's going to fill the space. Because for me, I'm kind of like, I'm going to do something to get to this point, XYZ. I need to know all the steps. What's cool is kind of letting go of this idea that you have to know, just knowing that there's opportunity in the space. It's exciting. And again, you don't have to guess what's going to fill it. What's meant for you will find you.
mm-hmm,
And it's probably more exciting than your imagination could even come up
mm,
with. So I started to feel
mm.
that the ball rolling as we're going through 2023. And so, again, the confidence and the consistency, I'm going to continue to bring that into 2024 because, again, it's working for me. I like the focus. We don't have to force ourselves to pick new habits or goals as we hit a new year. So part of that reflection is, hey, if something's working, let's keep going with it.
Well, and I do want to add to this that I've had a chance to watch you do that, and it's impacted me as well for the consistency and having conversation, which really leads me to examine, are the people that you're hanging around with having these kinds of conversations,
Mm.
because they do influence you, and I get influenced all the time. Like, what are you putting in your ear? What are you listening to? Are you getting ideas that encourage and allow and nurture, and I'm going to limit the things that don't do that. So I love that, and I'm here to say that, thanks, Claire, because I've watched you do that, and we've had conversation. I've watched you, um, you know, chase some, and chase isn't the right word, but go after things that were really that you talk about. So watching it, the consistency get put into play gave me, and somebody who's got a bunch of life experience, another example of what it can look like, and I benefit. So again, you've got two generations here talking about different topics, but the common misconception I think is as you get older that you've had all these experiences and you're done. You're
Mm.
not. There's so much to learn from the people that are around you, and I am just so grateful for that because I can't even tell you how many times in the last year I've been like, ah, I didn't think of that. That was not, it has not been my experience. I didn't think of it like that, and I want to stay in that wonder space because that lights me up when I'm like, oh, didn't think of that. That's cool because the creativity and the possibilities in life, I do believe are endless. And you, to your earlier point, you don't have to know what you want to come into your life by freeing up some extra space because it's probably bigger than what we can dream of. And that's becoming the case more and more, instead of just an idea.
Yeah. So I've got a question, and we were kind of talking about this a little bit beforehand, but I think it's an interesting question. We have done so many episodes now. We had over 50 just in the past year alone. So, woo, go Joyful
Yeah.
Rebels. Thank you to everyone who listens. Uh, what's your favorite episode? Maybe here, I'll put it this way. Do you have a favorite episode or like a most helpful tip that we've given? Because we've given dozens, probably hundreds at this point.
Mm,
So, just what's something that sticks out to you as maybe a favorite or something that you really liked or lit you up, or we'll keep it broad. See
okay.
where it
Well,
goes.
there's a couple. There really are a couple. One of them is the one that we tackled with regret, and because that has been top of mind when I go make a decision. Is it something that's in alignment with my core values that helps me narrow down if it's something to do, and then to know that is a common theme for people, that the things they didn't go after are the things they feel badly about. So I've become bolder in the
Mm,
choices that I take. So that one, and for you guys listening, just so you know, a topic like that is a risk, and I don't see it talked about enough. Especially in the wellness space, and maybe it is, and I just haven't seen it, and that's a possibility. But we like to talk about things that just make us feel good all the time. But that one didn't look like it from the title. Okay, just from the title. But as we dug into it, there were actually some really great ways to use that. Knowledge is power, and to use that to create scenarios and to make decisions that actually are really nourishing. So, but to, yeah, tackle some things that aren't like all unicorns and rainbows, um, is a risk for us. But we're still going to do that because there is beauty behind any of the topics. And I still maintain and lean into it even more that when we can embrace the full spectrum of our humanness and the emotions and all of it, then we partner with it, and nothing's off limits. We are fully functioning, full range, humans out there on the prairie, and not being controlled by fear, and being able to live our lives that feel really true to us. So we're going to keep digging in some of those periphery, maybe those kind of topics. So that's one, that the regret one, I really, that was pivotal for me as I make decisions. But I get a chance to be really more on the in the weeds here, or on the ground, because I take one-on-one clients. So I spend a lot more time in that space than you do, Claire. So I get to see the things that we've talked about in play in people. And I get that feedback loop right away. And one of the ones that I've gotten the most out of was boundaries. And
mm,
we're able to talk and share and go over what that looks like specifically for someone. That has been really helpful for my own life. I watch it play out in people. I can see them incorporate it. I get the feedback right away. And that seems to be one of those points right at the starting line. Well, when we get that and we start to incorporate that and it's natural, then life changes, and it feels there's more ease. And that is really a big macro goal for me, is to have more peace and ease.
mm,
And how can I, and that's not by avoiding conflict, but is by creating a way to help people know how I want to be treated. And some of
mm.
that's knowing how I want to be treated. And that creates the boundary in a loving way. So the regrets and the boundary, which if you just look at those two topics, you're like, woo, you guys are like fun. But ultimately, they really have brought joy. in many cases, unexpectedly. And that kind of freaks me out, but I'm open to it.
Well, I think you make a good point of, at face value, those sound like kind of negative topics, but I think we did find ways to frame them in ways that are empowering. And I love how you said that thinking about, effects of regret or potential regret has made you bolder. Like I love that statement because like, what a way to live.
Mm,
Like you have that foresight to, am I going to let my feelings of, oh, potentially, fear of failure or what someone's going to say about me? And just, I love how, again, that research that we talked about there, that those are so short term and they feel so real and so big in the moment. Oh, I can't say this because of what someone might think about me. Those are so short term. It's the regret of the things that we don't do. So I totally agree with you that that is something that showed up multiple times over the past year, going for big, scary things because what was worse or what felt worse was not going for them. So
yes.
I love that. I would say for me, my favorite episodes were the Joyful Rebels strike back against the whack messages. Um, not just because of the amazing title, clearly,
Yes.
um, but those are some of the episodes that I've actually played for my kids. If they want to listen to any of the episodes, I let them. I've only had to mark explicit on one episode, I think, but but anyways, those I really like, and I think those messages still ring true. We talk about body image, we talk about ageism, so those included four big topics that we just got to chat about, and I like when we're both able to give our opinions about it because I think one of the things that we try to highlight is that we do have these different perspectives coming from the two different generations, and we are mother daughter. So, I mean, we've got a lot of different angles here. So, I think it's cool when we're able to both talk about a topic and how we viewed it from our different perspectives. So,
Mhm.
hopefully, you listening enjoy that too, um, that little insight into both our relationship, but also the different experiences that we've had. And I would say my favorite tip that we've had that, and I mentioned this a few episodes back, but the box breathing, you're going to hear me
Mm,
say it again. If you haven't done that, and you notice at some point that you need a second to reset your nervous system. I mean, on a physiological level, that's what it does. We don't need to get into the nitty gritty of it, but it actually works to shift you from fight or flight into more of a rest or digest. Um, and so if you're noticing a feeling of overwhelm or stress, just go. It's a less than 10-minute video. Do a few. Once you learn the technique, by the way, you don't need the video. If you can count to four, you're golden. You can do this. If you can count to four and you can breathe, you can do this. I will say when I utilized this technique the other day, for me personally, I can feel my heart rate lowering. Like it, and then like it's like my shoulders kind of slump away from my ears. And I say that because that's amazing to me. And it wasn't just a one and done. Like this has happened many times. And I'm not promising you the same experience, but I will say that because it is working on a physiological level, if you take a minute to notice how you feel before and you come back at the end and take a notice how you feel, you might notice some significant changes. So that's a tip that you can keep in your back pocket and pull it out when you need to. And anytime that we can give a tip that really can show up again
yeah.
in the real world, like that is the goal and the motivation behind all of our tips, that you can hear them and whether the topic was top of mind or not, you are aware and you can pull it out when you need it. That's one that for me, shows up quite a bit and I can't I can't harp on it enough because it works.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hearing too, and I love that you share that because I'm thinking I have the tools. Some of them are up in my head, and they come up in a conversation like they're at the ready. They're available. You have this physical thing that's available to you. So there's a slippery slope that can happen, especially like there's a ton of information that's out there, and sometimes I know as a consumer, I just want to hear something new. I want to hear something new.
Mm,
But actually, I kind of want to hear something new, but or maybe a different perspective on it. But I really want to have something that I could use. And so sometimes that takes repetition. Sometimes it's going to be something more cerebral. Sometimes it's going to be more action oriented. But you need to have the tool where you feel comfortable enough to engage with it so that it can do something for you instead of just be a cool concept.
yeah.
Because the concept stuff, there's a ton of that out there. It's when the stuff drops in is when I just really consider that a win in life. Like that's the stuff that I'm like, that has value to me because it is available to me right now. And like, I love that. Like I'm encouraged by that to keep going.
And keep going, we will, right? So if you're listening, hey, another year to look forward to our weekly podcasts. We love having you join us. Um, Feedback. If any of you have feedback on either your favorite episodes or tips that have really helped you, please don't hesitate to message us, to post on social media, because other people might agree. You might be pointing out something to someone that they hadn't heard yet.
Mhm,
And this is why we do what we do.
mhm,
It's not for the fame and the glory. It's so that, even one to a handful of people can find use out of what we're doing. We personally get use out of these tips that we're doing. It makes it all worth it. And again, we love that you are a part of our community. So much gratitude from 2023, bringing it into 2024. Until next time, Rebels.